Hello, agents. Welcome to the Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by PkmnTrainerJ. Ingress Insights aims to give you the latest news and updates about the Niantic Spatial game Ingress. Whether you're a veteran agent who has recursed 17 times or a brand new agent working to level 8, wondering what a fracker is, this is your place for the latest Ingress news and discussions. 2026 sees Ingress renewed under Niantic Spatial and many new campaigns to engage agents. So, plenty to discuss. Share any thoughts by checking our social media links. Now, over to Ada.
Additional intel available.
Hello, agents, and welcome to episode 157 of the Ingress Insights podcast. This week, we'll be looking at the Summer Solstice campaign that's coming up, as well as the results from the first set of Orion Anomalies for this weekend, and some updates to XMPs in the game that are going on at the moment. Before I get into all of that, I'll just go and update my personal progress at the moment. As you might have heard last time I recursed, I've now hit level 7. So I'm on 354,002 AP out of the 600,000 I need to get to level 8. So I should manage to do that pretty soon. As for the campaigns, I'm on the second go round of Myriad, that only lasts another day. And then for the other ones, I'm on the first go still round Courier. I've not yet managed to destroy 1,100 Resonators because I've been somewhere where there's not been much agent activity going on. There wasn't even Machino where I was. But I'm on the second go round of Umbra. I've got to deploy 1,111 Resonators, which I may not do. I may do. We'll have to see. But I'd hope to get the Courier one done maybe. But if I don't get it, I don't get it. I just have to suck it up. And the Hank Johnson, the Courier Files one, I'm on the final assignment of the first time around on that, assignment 4 of 4. I've just got to deploy 9 more portal mods and then recharge another 300,000 XM, which I should be able to do within the 2 days on there. And then I'll get my 1,200 Orion tokens, an Apex and a media. I will go through all the media later on in this episode as well, because other people have managed to get all of it. As I said, I was somewhere where there wasn't much activity, wasn't much signal at all, so I couldn't really progress as well as I would have liked to on that. But it's not a problem. I was having a nice break. Now that I've gone through all my own stuff, I'll get into the Courier City results for Orion. Actually, instead of me telling you the results for Orion, I'm going to let Brian Rose, the game director of Ingress, take care of that.
With a score of 188 to 112, Orion Courier was captured by the Enlightened! Congratulations to each and every agent for battling over this beautiful city of Courier. Up next, all eyes turn to Jersey City, Orion. Good luck, have fun, and remember to hack the planet.
With that Enlightened win, the XM on the ground turned green for about an hour. So that was nice to see, because it's something that the Ingress team have talked about being able to do before. Brian talked about in the interview about having the XM change colour. And obviously we get it happen for Halloween and for Pride, which will be next month. But it was nice to see it turn green. The Jersey City Anomaly is still going on as I'm recording this podcast, so I won't be covering that this time. But I'm wondering whether it will turn blue or green depending on who wins that. And then whether we'll get a longer period of green or blue XM after the Orion Anomaly series ends. And we know the final winner of the series. Also in relation to Orion, the play boxes for Geneva, Switzerland and Lima, Peru are highlighted on the Intel map. So if you are planning on attending one of those, you can go on to intel.ingress.com, check the map on there and see where it's highlighted. So you'll know where you'll be playing, and then you'll be able to communicate further with the team, organise where you're going, what you're doing, so you can do best for your faction. Just catching up with Future Me at the end of the podcast, because as I was recording and trying to wrap things up, the Jersey City Anomaly concluded. So that has concluded with Enlightened 176.6 points to 103.4 points to Resistance. So Orion Jersey City went to the Enlightened as well. So Enlightened won both anomalies this weekend. I think it's still all a bit to play for in the last few anomalies we've got for Orion. So we'll have to see what happens, see if we get Green XM in Jersey City as well, obviously all over the globe for a little bit of time. But I wanted to interrupt past me just to share those results before moving on to the next bits of Ingress news. That's all the anomaly news for now, really. So there's a lot of lore that's related to the Courier files and the changes to XMPs that are coming up. So I'll cover the changes to XMPs first of all, and then we'll dive into a whole load of lore documents. Last episode, I went through the Ingress debrief about the latency that happened on May the 16th, and the Ingress team said they'd be trying various things to try and prevent it happening again. They added a small note on there on May the 28th and said, based on field performance data collected since the May 26th change, we'll further fine-tune these temporary XM adjustments starting Thursday, May 28th at 5 p.m. UTC. They then added a note on May the 30th to say, with the surge in agent activity leading to Orion Courier and Orion Jersey City, the portal network is reacting with a temporary increase in Resonator XMP and UltraTrack hack output. Additionally, we've added 2 new optional loadout kits to the in-game store, available for purchase: 500 resonators or 500 XMPs, 500 resonators or 500 XMPs at your access level up to level 8. These bundles will be live until the end of the Orion Jersey City anomaly. So if you're checking the store now, they are gone already, I believe. Yeah, they are gone. They were there briefly if you want to grab a load of resonators or XMPs, but unfortunately they're now gone. So it was nice to see that on there. I don't know how many agents would have purchased it, but it was there. And then there was a bit of lore related to this, as I mentioned, that you were able to hack from portals, which was the harmonic XMP lore / image. So I'll just go through the details of that one. For this media, it's meant to look like a Substack kind of post, and it's got like home archive about subscribe at the top, and it says what arrived this week briefly framed. What follows is a small bundle describing an experiment whose consequences left of the laboratory is running. Field XMPs hit harder and tighter now through the upcoming anomaly window, and for as long as the effect lasts. The work, as the documents put it, of a witness. So this is a conversation between 2 people called Mateus and Vesna. So Mateus says, Branka, okay, Branka still talking to me yet. Vesna, she is fine, she is sitting on my keyboard, she remembers so. Matthias, good, that's comforting. Okay, so you're still in the building. The rig is doing the thing, run _0427. I was about to shoot it down, but the cone is, look at the third trace, it's tight, like tight. Intensity is way up. Lesnar, did you re-zero the secondary after lunch? Matthias, yes, ambient was in the envelope, I checked, that's what's weird. Vesna, pull the cal_seq_03 baseline, compare it to last Thursday's same config rerun. Mateus doing it. And then 8 minutes later, this further conversation. Mateus, okay. Vesna, the baseline is clean, the rig is clean, it's the harmonic. We set it up and it's holding. The cone is collapsing inward underneath it. Intensity 22% up, radius pulled in by, I'm measuring it now, but it's a lot, it's a real lot. Vesna, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Rerun the secondary swapped. I want to see it twice. Agreed, doing it. Then 14 minutes later, Mateus, it's twice. Vesna, I'm going to pull the public ambient feed against this, just to see how rare the condition is in the wild. Vesna, pull it. And 6 minutes later, Mateus, Vesna, the harmonic is in the public feed, not faintly, it's there. It's at our frequency, it's not us shielding wrong because we're not shielding. It's propagated out. The substrate is humming at what we set up in the rig. Long pause. Vesna, pull 2 more safe feeds, different geographies. And then 11 minutes later, Mateus, both, all 3, it's not local. Vesna, okay, we did this. Mateus, yeah. Vesna, tomorrow we figure out how we surface it. Don't email anyone tonight. Mateus, I won't. I'm going to be awake all night though. Vesna, I know. Go home. And that seems to end the kind of Teams conversation on there, Slack conversation that's happening. And then there's a transcript of a voicemail where it says the approximate length is 2 minutes 48 seconds. And it goes, hey, it's me. You're asleep. You're probably asleep. You should be asleep. Pause. I've been at the desk since I got home. I pulled the global ambient feed and I started to look at how far it's gone. Not whether, how far. The harmonic is in the public feed in lots of places. I checked 3 station feeds in 3 different geographies and the signature is clean across all of them. It is not a measurement artifact. It is not a binning thing. It's a thing we set up in the rig. Pause. We did this. We set a harmonic in a small experimental rig and it did not stay in the rig. The substrate is humming at our frequency. I do not know exactly how it propagated out. We did not mean for it to leave the lab, but it did, and the field is in it now. So field XMPs, the cone is collapsing inward, tighter radius, higher intensity at the center. I'm looking at the same effect we measured in the rig distributed. Anyone firing burst in the field right now is firing, so a substrate is going to do this for them, whether they know it or not. I've been trying to put a number on the duration. I cannot. The harmonic will damp out when it damps out. I do not have the data to pin it down, and we're inside the next anomaly window before we'll have it. Whatever the field is going to feel like, agents feel it through the anomaly. Okay, tomorrow, we have to talk about how we surface this. Call me when you wake up. Don't email anyone. Don't put anything in the shared doc. Just call me. Okay, sorry it's late. Get some sleep. End of recording. Then there is a handwritten note with equations on there as well that I'm not going to try and make sense with. But some of the notes at the side of it say, so modifying the radius sets up some kind of harmonic wave function in the ambient field, amplification of the intensity from the coupling, not from the rig, from the coupling itself. R8 was the seat, the fielding is doing all the work. What was the threshold geometry? What made the substrate pick it up and not damp it on contact? We have to know that. Measure broadband sweep of the damping curve before it's gone, and the coupling threshold for next time if you're ever stupid enough to do this again. Okay, focus. Chaos. And then on this Substack, after these documents, it says what the documents show is that field XMPs will hit harder and hit tighter for as long as the effect holds. In that time, the next anomaly window will fall. The two voices in the document describe what happened without ceremony and without claiming for it to leave the laboratory as running. Neither of them appear to know when the effect will damp out. Every agent carrying a burster will, in the meantime, feel the difference at the moment the device pops. Someone in position to make this an official announcement may yet make it one. Someone else's suggestion, the document suggests, will not. Signed, who hopefully will know from Ingress law. So that's our law document for kind of explaining the changes to XMPs that I mentioned on there. And it's got a nice little harmonic XMP image, which I kind of like. As I said, there are a few more bits from the Courier files that I'm going to run through next as well. Right, agents, it's time to dive into the Courier files. So for completing various stages of the Courier files campaign, you'll get media, which links into the kind of Substack posts that I was mentioning before. These start off as being posted by Pack, so you'll be able to see details on there. So the first one posted, which is like Courier 1, is why I'm posting again. I've not posted in years. This is one post. There will be one more when whatever I've been watching resolves into something I describe, and then I'll be done again. Here is the situation. For the past 9 months, Hank Johnson's been moving a pattern does not match any disclosed work. 3 continents, remote sites, public ingress events in cities he had no announced reason to be in, like Paris. Anomaly event skip that you should have attended. A calendar that looked at as a calendar makes no sense. Looked at as a pattern, the most coherent thing I've seen in a long time. In the same window, the network has been carrying anomalies that should be on every institutional desk and are not. Dark frequency activity at sites worldwide captured by instrumentation the academic community has been quietly upgrading. Network scale XM influence consistent with operational signatures that by every public count should not be present in this universe. The institutional silence around all of this is the part that brought me out of dormancy. I will share over the coming days the documents that have reached me, a movement log tomorrow, after that an academic note is not cleared peer review, after that internal NIA product that should not be in my hands. I will keep my freeing minimal. I will not entirely succeed at that. I never have. I've been wrong before. I would rather be wrong with the company than right alone. Watching for the shape of something you cannot see directly is what this investigation has always been for. The first document goes up tomorrow. So I quite like that, referencing the attending Ingress events in cities had no announced being. So obviously Hank being in Paris for the first Saturday there, and Anomaly event skip that you should have attended because there was an event where Hank Johnson was meant to show up in person but couldn't. I think it was due to family illness and it wasn't able to attend. So I do like they've tied that into the law of the Courier files on there. So as I said, that was Courier 01, which you get for completing the first round of the Courier files. And then next we'll go through Courier 02, which, as Pac mentioned, is a movement log. So it's movement log subject HJ, Hank Johnson, source unverified. This came across my desk last week, source unspecified, I have no provenance to share and would not share if I did. The analyst's marginal notes are reproduced as received. Once confirmed public appearance in the entire reporting period. Look at where the rest of the entries place him. Then there's a document attached which is restricted internal distribution, movement log, subject Johnson H, reporting period 2025-08 to 2026-04. There's various bits blocked out on there, but the scope says consolidated movement observation on subject Johnson H for the period of 2025-08-15, 15th of August 2025, through 2026-4-30, 30th of April 2026. Source attribution per standard practice, no active engagement during reporting period. Total entries recorded 31. Selected entries reproduced below. So there's the log below that says on the 12th of September, Hank was in Central Asia. Activity, travel to remote site, purpose not established. Tag unexplained travel, recommend continued monitoring. Then on the 3rd of October, somewhere in the Andes region, subject travel to remote site, duration 2 days, unexplained travel, recommend continued monitoring. On the 25th of October, Hank was in continental United States, subject in proximity to plus beta anomaly site, Houston, Texas, on-site presence not confirmed. Proximity, non-participation is the tag on that one. Then on the 1st of November 2025, the location is Paris, France. Subject confirmed at community event, Ingress Saturday. On-site participation observed. Tag confirmed public appearance. And there's some handwritten notes that say only confirmed sighting in 9 months. Then on the 15th of November, he's in continental Europe. Subject in proximity to plus beta anomaly site, The Hague, NL. On-site presence not confirmed. It's tagged as proximity non-participation. Then on the 6th of December, it's somewhere in continental Europe. It's redacted. Subject in proximity to community event, Ingress Saturday. On-site presence not confirmed. Again, that's proximity non-participation for that one. Then on the 14th of December, it's somewhere in the EMA region, redacted. Subject in proximity to plus beta Shardstorm host city, not registered as event organizer or participant. On-site presence not confirmed. And this one notes proximity irregularity noted. And there's a handwritten note that says in region not at event, why? Then we go to the 8th of February, somewhere in the Western Hemisphere, again redacted on there. Subject travel to remote site, duration 4 days. Unexplained travel, recommend continued monitoring. Then this location is completely redacted, so it's the 7th of March, where it says subject in proximity to community event, Ingress Saturday, on-site presence not confirmed, proximity non-participation. Then on the 11th of April 2026, it's somewhere in Central Asia because the main bit is redacted. It says the subject returned to the site of the 2025 12th of September entry, which was the first one there. And again, it says unexplained travel, but now says pattern noted because it's been there before. And it notes third visit to this site recurrence. That's all we really get from there, because Pac did say it was a movement log he'd be posting next on there for the next day, basically. But it's just the next time you clear the file on there and do the next assignment. Next up for Courier 3, again, it's another Substack tile post that's redacted on some bits. It says anomalous frequency activity, pre-pub draft leaked. Pre-publication draft, peer review channel, viewer comments preserved as received. Read the geographic distribution against the other log, then read the dates patch. So this one has a document attached that says draft do not cite under peer review. Anomalous subthreshold frequency activity in the global network preliminary documentation. And it's used by Y.A. Nagasa, submitted to the Journal of Exotic Matter Research, March 2026. Abstract subthreshold frequency activity below 0.4 Hz has been observed at 12 geographically distributed portal sites between November 2025 and April 2026. The observations are inconsistent with known XM phenomena documented in the prior literature. This note presents the data without attempting to identify the source. Methodical limits are discussed. So the methodology, observations were collected via instrumentation arrays, calibrated for extended bandwidth per the modified Haley protocol NASA 2024. Capture range 0.08 to 0.4 Hz. Observation periods varied by site. Minimum capture window 72 hours, maximum 31 days. 12 sites have produced sustained signal above the noise floor. 8 further sites have produced isolated readings not yet classified as sustained. Only the 12 sustained signal sites are reported here. There is a note here from the reviewer, as Pack said. So they say the 72-hour minimum capture window is insufficient to establish sustained signal for sites where the readings are characterized as intermittent. Recommend the author distinguish between sites where intermittent activity has been observed across multiple capture windows and sites where the intermittency is itself within a single window. The current presentation conflates these. So there are some selected observations. So they are in Central Asia, Western Europe and Paris, Andes, North America and Eastern Europe. And they've got either cluster correlated, site localized, sustained low amplitude, or intermittent site localized. The preliminary findings from these are the geographic distribution is non-uniform and does not correlate with portal density, fraction control distribution, or any known XM environmental variable. The temporal pattern is suggestive of an emerging rather than declining phenomenon. The signal characteristics not consistent with instrument artifact. The same instrumentation has not produced equivalent readings at control sites during overlapping windows. There is a footnote that's added here that says the framing of quietness as the precondition for observation. The methodological premise, the subthreshold activity becomes legible only at sites where the standard signal floor itself is unusually low, is of course not original to electromagnetic instrumentation. The principle is also articulated in Andean observational astronomy, and the structural similarity is, I think, not accidental. The empirical question of where to point the instrument and the cosmological question of where to direct attention are at the level of methodology the same question. And the reviewer leaves a note on the footnote there, just say the author is invited to consider whether this footnote belongs in the paper. The methodological observation is interesting. The cross-disciplinary citation is not, in my view, supported by the paper's analytical scope. And that's where it ends on there for that post from Pack. So that was the Courier 03. So now we're moving to Courier 04, which again, Substack post, redacted bits. You should be used to this by now. This is the NIA monitoring report, Nemesis activity assessment. Again, Pat mentioned this in the first post on there. It says operations division mid-May, same source channel as the monitoring log. I will not say more than that. Read the personnel mentioned, then read the personnel not mentioned. Then attaches a redacted document that says restricted internal distribution originating from the operations division, and it's got some dates on there when it was drafted and reviewed. The situation summary here says 2 distinct operational signatures consistent with the banished Nemesis operatives have been observed on the global port network during the period March 2026 through present. Banishment status of both operatives has not been formally rescinded. This document summarizes current observations and recommends initial response posture. So the observed indicators are the dark frequency activity, sub 0.4 Hz band, at multiple geographically distributed sites. Pattern is consistent with prior signature observations associated with operative Umbra, CF operational profile redacted 2019, cross-reference with academic literature documentation, pre-publication circulation, Nagasa 2026 draft, network scale XM influence affecting multiple Hawk clusters simultaneously, distributed across continents. Pattern is consistent with prior signature observations associated with Operation Myriad, operational profile redacted 2019. Cluster effects are sub-threshold individually, but statistically significant in aggregate. No record of formal re-entry through known dimensional channels. Means of return is not established. Then the assessment. The observed signatures are assessed as consistent with active operational presence of both Umbra and Myriad in the Prime/Osiris node. The activity is assessed as a possible Nemesis incursion event. The operational objective is not yet established. Current observations do not support a definitive determination as to whether the activity is preparatory, demonstrative, or directed at specific portal infrastructure. Confidence and identification high, signature match. Confidence in operational framing low, insufficient data to characterize objective. Recommendations. Recommend continued monitoring at affected sites with collected priorities revised per Annex A. Recommend liaison with redacted for coordinated response posture. Recommend escalation to redacted committee within 10 business days. Recommend the persons of interest list be reviewed and updated to reflect current operational presence, additions, Umbra/Myriad, and then who it's being distributed to is also redacted on there. So a lot of redacted stuff on there, but again, we're covering over the files that we've had going through the return of Nemesis on there. Then we get on to Courier 05, which is again Substack posts on there, intercept fragment subject HJ plus UNK. Now pack tells us this is what the prior documents have been pointing at. Source channel as before. Reconstruction is partial. The surveillance team has flagged what they could not recover. I'm not going to gloss this. Read it in order. Read it twice. If the reading is what it appears to be, the question stops being what is happening and becomes what do we do about it. So this is a conversation that says it's restricted eyes only, and it's come from omnivore_relay reconstruction terminal. And it's a conversation between HJ and presumably another person on there. So it's again been reconstructed back on the 4th of May 2026. It's got HJ confirmed site is open. HJ windows until 5 a.m. local. Partial need to be there before then. Partial no surface contact after 4:30. HJ copy. HJ bringing the kit. HJ don't write anything down. HJ nothing on channel after this, and then there's a bit redacted on there. HJ understood. HJ one more thing. If it's the same as before, we move tonight. Partial, then we are agreed. Yes, see you there from HJ. Then we move on to Courier 06 in the Courier files. This one is not a Substack post, it's a handwritten note. The note starts off, she agreed. Months of work to get her, and in the end it was Umbra who reached her, not me. I was never going to be the one who could I knew that going in. I'm writing it down because it matters who did the convincing. Conditions I do not know. Umbra knows. Umbra is not telling me, and I'm not asking. There are limits to what I can require here, and that is one of them. Have not told anyone, not Susanna, not the agency, not the corporations. That was never going to happen. Ada knows because Ada figured it out without being told, and I have to stop pretending she doesn't. She has not asked the question she could ask. I'm grateful for not asking. If I'm right about what is happening, the alternative is watching it finish. If I'm wrong, I've brought 2 people back who should not be here for nothing. I do not know how to evaluate that until afterwards. There may not be an afterwards in which the evaluation matters. What they recognise in the data is not what anyone else has been looking at. The shape is not Nemesis, that much I'm sure of. The window is the dispatch series, 3 weeks out. After that, the conditions close. I will not write here again until it is done. H. So this one, obviously being a note from Hank Johnson, is a little 47 near the top, and then a little note that says, this is bad at the side. So it's different that it went with the handwritten note for Courier 06. And you'd think that we go next to Courier 07, but we go to actually Courier 6.5. And this is something different yet again. So it says the following record was reconstructed from residual dark frequency emission patterns logged during a partial dimensional manifestation event of indeterminate duration at an unspecified site. That's super helpful. Temporal metadata was not preserved in source data. Recovery confidence partial. 5 discrete frequency measurements are recoverable in the source data and are reproduced here as captured. Sections are presented in recovered sequence order. Confirmation that this sequence is chronological was not possible. So they're basically saying they don't know where it came from. It may not be in the right order, but here it is anyway. I've been watching the dark frequencies around the network for some time now. The signature is not new. I've seen variations of it before in other sites, other periods, other configurations. This is the reason I did not act on it immediately. I've watched signatures that resemble this one resolve into ordinary noise. I was not going to go into any more with an anomaly when there might not be one. What I'm watching now is registering in 19 standard deviations below ambient baseline, which is not significant in isolation. Signatures at this depth occur. They do not always mean anything. The signature is not resolved, it is sharpened. It is now present across 8 frequency bands simultaneously, not clustered in one range but distributed, as though whatever's producing it has learned where to look and is looking in all the right places at once. Distributed presence at this depth is not a noise profile. Noise is not distributed, noise disperses. There is a single stable alignment point in the distribution, one place in the frequency map where all 8 bands converge on the same value. I keep returning to that point. It's the same point every time I check. One point, consistent. The consistency is more troubling than the anomaly was. I've checked my instruments, I've checked my perception, I've checked both against the other. The reading holds. I know what this is. I've known for some time, and I've been performing uncertainty because certainty was worse. I'm done performing it. The shape in the dark frequencies matches what I observed in the final hours of my own universe. Not the same stage. What I'm seeing now is earlier. This is what it looked like before the configuration locked. Before there was no more adjusting, no more approaching, only the arrival of what I've been approaching. The thing that produced this pattern does not need to be understood to be recognized. I'm not working from interference, I'm working from memory. The frequency texture is specific, and I remember it is here. There is no one in displacement to tell. The people in this universe who have the analytical capacity to act do not have the perceptual range to understand the description. The language that works is the language of direct perception, and direct perception is not transferable. I will not act on it until I'm certain. I'm nearly certain, and nearly is not the same. The signature has reached 16 distinct absorption nodes in the portal network above the site where I am manifesting. 16 is not a random count. The nodes are not adjacent to each other. They're distributed in a pattern I recognise from the topology records I've seen of the late stage. Not identical, because this is earlier, but recognisably derived from the same construction logic. Something is being built. I'm watching it being built. I watched the completion of this construction once before. I'm watching the earlier phase of it now. This is not similarity. This is the same process. I've completed my verification count. The absorption signature resolves across a 5-frequency convergent, consistent across all observable ranges, stable from all observations I've been able to conduct from this manifestation stage. 5 frequencies, consistent, stable, I'm certain. I will find a way to reach someone who has the other pieces. There are pieces I do not have. The analytical record, the network scale data, the capacity to act at this level will require. I have what I have, the perception. Someone else has to do what I do not. Someone else has what I do not. I will find them. And then we go into Courier 7. So we've done 6, 6.5, and now we're on 7. This is part Substack post, part handwritten notes on there. Although I think it's meant to be an update from the Paris catacombs instead. So catacombs to Paris. The Paris catacombs will temporarily close from Monday, 3rd November, as the site will undergo major renovation works. It will reopen in spring 2026. In the fall of 2025, major renovation works on the technical installation were carried out to improve the site's conservation conditions and adapt to the 2,000 daily visitors. The electrical system will be completely upgraded while the air handling units and fire and safety systems will be replaced. The work, expected to last 5 months, will constitute an exceptional underground operation, the project management of which has been entrusted to Artemis Architects, the lead architect. And then we have a handwritten note as well. Looks to be from Hank. So it says 1st November 2025, Paris. First Saturday day, showed up, talked to 12 agents, 2 photographs, 1 short interview, not run anywhere visible. That is the whole point of being there. The cat file contact confirmed at 19:30, tomorrow at the Denford site, 5 a.m. Windows 2 days before the site staff complete handover. 3 sites on the list, 2 predicted barrier, then per the second records. 1 that came up in the readings that I do not have a record for and want to look at anyway. 2nd November 2025, underground site 1. Reading at site 1 confirms barrier permeability at 4.4 above baseline, frequency floor low enough to support the sub-threshold work. The records are right. Moved site 2 at 11 a.m. Same, permeability 4.6, slightly stronger than site 1. The geometry of the chamber matters. Bone walls dampen ambient signal more than I expected. Useful. Site 3, 2 p.m. The reading is not what I expected. Barrier is thin, yes, but the activity is not passive. Something is pushing from the other side, intermittent, irregular rhythm. Frequency signature does not match Umbra, does not match Myriad, doesn't match anything I have records of. I tested twice, same result, left at 2:30. 3rd November 2025, closure took effect at 900 hours, got out before the renovation crew arrived. Did not return to site 3, will not. The work has done what I came for. Sites 1 and 2 will support what we need. Site something on the other stuff tested left. 3 stays where it is. H. And then we've got some Paris XM field readings. Site 1, barrier permeability 1.4 above baseline. Site 2, barrier permeability 1.6 above baseline. Site 3 is in red, barrier permeability 1.9 above baseline, sub-threshold floor unstable, where the other said stable. And then there's notes to say for Site 3, the intermittent counter signal observed, frequency signature unmatched, no further capture attempted. It's interesting with this that they are tying into Hank being in Paris for Saturday and what happened there. So I'm enjoying that. There are still a few more to go on here once we get through all of this lore dump that's all happening all at once. But I'm enjoying the way it's been presented and the way it's been given out, at least. This one is more like an article, and it's got a few charts in that I obviously won't be able to go through, but I'll describe them best I can. So they say, on convergence, a note on the topology of the Machina cycles with reference to comparable trajectory data from the Nemesis universe. Machina cycles have been treated in the public and institutional literature as discrete events. Each cycle's growth, linking, collapse, and rebirth has been documented in isolation. Their behavior across cycles across the sequence has not been subject to comparable analysis. The available data on cycles 1 through 38 supports a different reading. The cycles do not randomize, they refine. Each cycle's network configuration is statistically close to an unseen target state than the previous ones. The trajectory is visible across linking density, cluster coherence, and frequency band distribution. The convergence is not artifact of analytical framing. The same data partitioned by alternative metrics produce the same trajectory. The convergence is a property of the cycles, not of the observer. Machina is a construction process. The substrate being constructed is not a finished port network in any conventional sense. It is a network configuration of specific topological properties that, on the available evidence, are not arbitrary and not ordinary. The construction is iterative. Each cycle refines towards sufficiency. What the substrate is being constructed for is not specified by the construction itself. The construction's behavior is consistent with preparation for an inhabitant. The inhabitant has not been observed. Trajectory data through the Nemesis universe's final hours available in fragments through historical record exhibits the same convergence signature as Machina's current data at a more advanced refinement state. The Nemesis universe's destruction has been attributed in the standard account to the Shaper-Nazir breach event. The available evidence is not consistent with this attribution being complete. The Shapers and the Nazir are independent forces, neither is the agent of the construction process. What the construction process appears to exploit is the infrastructure such forces leave behind after they have acted, and the dimensional condition their action produce. The breach was a precondition, the destruction was something else. This is the analytical foundation of the operation currently underway. An intervention is presently in progress at portal clusters whose topology has approached late-stage refinement. The intervention's targeting is informed by direct perception of the dark frequency state of the network and by statistical analysis of the convergence data. The operational scope is cluster-level distribution, not system-level reversal. The substrate's progression is being scrambled at specific advanced sites. The construction process will continue from an earlier iteration point. The energetic conditions required to sustain the intervention are in part generated by the cumulative XM activity of the dispatch series currently running on the network. The intervention authors have not directed this activity. They have aligned the operation to the conditions the activity creates. This document does not name what the substrate is being constructed for. The available evidence is not sufficient to do so. The phenomenon is inferable only from the geometry of its preparation and the absorption signatures present at the most advanced clusters. The careful avoidance is not stylistic, it is methodological. You know what I mean. What can be said? The substrate's progression matches the trajectory preceded the destruction of the Nemesis universe. The intervention is intended to interrupt that progression at the present universe's current refinement state. Whether the intervention will succeed in preventing what the substrate is being constructed for and what that would mean are not within the scope of this document. The scope of this document ends here. If you're still counting along, next up we've got Courier 09, and then we've got 9.5 and 10 as the final one on there. Courier 09 is a recovered conversation between Umbra and Myriad that they had on the 12th of April 2026. They note the dialogue presented in this document is reconstruction of XM frequency modulation patterns captured during a partial dimensional manifestation event of approximately 6 hours duration on 12th of April 2026. Two participants are identified through frequency signature analysis. Their attributions denoted U and M throughout, Umbra and Myriad. The recovery is partial. Specific passages are flagged in the footnotes where reconstruction confidence is below the threshold for direct presentation. Gaps in the source data are marked within the transcript. The reconstruction has not been verified against any independent source. So these are alternating between Umbra and Myriad. Umbra speaking first, and then Myriad. Umbra, I've been seeing it for weeks now. I want to be sure before I came to you. Sure of what, says Myriad? Of what's in the data here. The shape we did not learn to see in time. Don't. I'm asking you to. Don't tell me what you're asking me. Tell me what you want me to, what you want, and I will tell you no. I want you with me at the network level. I cannot do what needs doing alone. They rejected us, both of us. They watched the warning come in and they chose what they chose. I know. Then you know the answer. And then there's a gap of approximately 14 minutes recovery uncertain. And Myriad starts, why are you still here? Umbra says, because I'm not asking you to save them. You just said, I'm asking you to learn the shape. Here, now, where we have time. So in the next universe we see it and we recognize it before the breach, before whatever this place is about to lose. That is a different question. It is. You're saying there will be others. I'm saying I do not know how many. I'm saying that if this is happening here, it happened before and will happen again, and one of us has to start watching for it early enough to matter. One of us, not them. Not them. They cannot see what you and I can see. They will not be the ones who learn. I will not do this on your terms, says Myriad. I did not expect you to. There are things I will need to do during this window that are mine, not yours, not his. Tell me. No, says Myriad. I will tell you what you need to know to keep the operation clean. The rest is mine. Agreed. You agree too quickly. I've thought about this for longer than this conversation lasted. All right, Myriad. All right, Umbra. I will see you at the site. I will be there. That kind of wraps up us on Courier 09. As I said, there is a Courier 9.5 and then there's a Courier 10 for the last one. So Courier 9.5 is a partial reconstruction of the outbound transmission signal captured on unregistered frequency channel. Recovery confidence fragmentary, source unidentified. Sender MYR Myriad, recipient NEM1218 Transit Nexus DISP. So channel NEM4 is exactly what I remembered. Bigger because this network is larger than the one I knew, but the same shape underneath, the same pull. When you're touching all of it at once, you stop thinking about portals and start thinking about topology, and topology here is wrong in exactly the way I knew it would be wrong. I'm working. Don't read this as a complaint. I'm telling you what I'm finding. The disruption is going in where it needs to go. I can feel the clusters releasing their alignment. Not all of them, the targeted ones she identified. She was right about which ones. I don't enjoy saying that, but she was. The thing I reserved is done. I'm not going to describe it here. You know what it was. I know what it was. If someone else is reading this, they can wonder. That is fine. Let them wonder. What I will say is what was mine. Not the operations, not his, not hers. The window was the condition. I used the window. No collateral, nothing touched the intervention. Just the thing I needed to do before I could leave this place again without carrying it. I carried it for 6 years. I set it down. That's all I'm going to say about it. There is something else in the network. I noticed it while I was working. I've been watching it since. It's not what she is tracking. The dark frequency is her range, not mine. This is in the normal spectrum, all of it, simultaneous across the whole network. Not Macinus convergence pattern, not the absorption signature she's watching. Something else. It's here before we started, it's still here now. The only vocabulary I have for it is the wrong vocabulary, but it has weight. It pulls towards something, not towards the configuration the way the convergence is pulling toward a point. A location maybe, or a moment. I cannot tell from inside the network whether what I'm perceiving is spatial or temporal. Both are possible, neither would surprise me. I'm not saying this is the same problem. I'm saying I saw it and you should know I saw it. File it, look for it when you are somewhere else in another network, see if it's there too. This channel is degrading. I have a short time before the manifestation won't hold. I'm not going to tell you this is worth it. You know why I did it, and it wasn't for them, and it wasn't for this place, and it wasn't because someone asked me. I did it because you asked me to look at it, and I looked at it, and the thing you asked me to watch for was here. That's the whole reason. It's not a complicated reason. The network is quieter now in the targeted clusters. Whether quieter means disrupted in the way we need, whether disrupted means delayed, whether delayed means anything, I don't know. She will know more than I do. She can see what I can't see. Ask her. I'm done. When the channel closes, I'm not coming back. You know where I'll be. And then we have our final Courier 10 Substack redacted post from Pat saying, what I can tell you, the active phase has ended. The documents have stopped arriving. I'm posting because I said I would. What I can tell you is this. Over the past several days, the documents have described an operation conducted on the global portal network. The operation was Hank Johnson's. The participants were Hank, Umbra, and Myriad. The operative's presence here was not incursion as the institutional product framed it. It was the result of a recruitment Hank conducted unilaterally over months. The target was not what most of us assumed. The analytical document that surfaced, the one I did not host and cannot vouch for, describes a process I do not have the technical background to assess. I've been unable to find a qualified third party willing to assess on the record. If the analysis is correct, the operation was directed at something none of us were positioned to recognise. If it is wrong, I cannot tell you what the operation was for because the people would know are no longer reachable. Umbra is withdrawn. Her withdrawal was clean, Myriad's was less clean. The dispatch data carries patterns do not match the intervention targeting profile. I have to assume she used some part of the window for her own purposes. What those were, I cannot say. The instrumentation reading attached to this post is from the close of the active phase. I'm told it shows what the operation was attempted to disrupt at one cluster, and the disruption appears succeeded. I cannot tell you what success at one cluster means for the larger picture, or whether there is a large picture in the sense of the analytical document used the term. I do not know what the unnamed phenomenon is, neither does the analytical document, neither do the operatives. The careful avoidance is not, I'm increasingly convinced, some kind of stylistic choice. I do not know whether the operation worked in any sense larger than the cluster. I do not know what was on the other side of the third parasite. I do not know what Myriad's conditions were or where she is now. I framed the first day's post as a question about what Hank Johnson was doing. The framing was wrong. Not the question. The lean I already begun to put on the answer. The two posts are now next to each other and you can read them both. I want to thank the people who flagged the discrepancy in the dark frequency data. The fact you found it and that you understood you have found something is part of this I want you to remember. The shape of something you cannot directly see is the same shape after many days as it was on the first day. We just know more about what its shape is not. Sometimes it's the shadow of a thing that tells you what you're looking at. The investigation is now over, but my work, our work as investigators will continue. Until next time, I appreciate that was a lot of me reading through documents, but hopefully it helped. If you've not read them before, you can go read them on the Ingress.plus site. They've got a nice media bit on there where you can look at the actual documents and read through them if the lore interests you. If not, and you've just listened to me drone on about nonsense for the past few minutes, then that's absolutely fine as well. But I've kind of liked the way you've been getting the media for the Courier files in this way. After that big lore dump, that is about it for general Ingress news. I've just got a few little bits about Niantic Spatial after this ad. Hello, agents. Hope you're happily hacking away whilst I interrupt this podcast. I want to talk for a second about the TeePublic store that I run for Ingress Insights, which is over at teepublic.com/user/ingress-insights. I have been putting up quite a lot of new designs lately, which you can get on socks, shirts, mugs, tote bags, to name just a few things. So for May, I've added quite a few designs on there. Some have sold already. So there's one which is a kinetic capsules shirt, showing an image of two kinetic capsules saying, I don't want to be outside, but these kinetic capsules aren't going to walk themselves, which I've seen already sell. One with a quantum capsule on with like a blurring on it to show that echo still remain of the quantum capsule. There's also one featuring a hypercube, which I was watching a certain film and then thought of it on there. It says phenomenal cosmic power ETBT cube for the hypercube. And then the final two new ones that I've uploaded this month is one with a heatsink saying, why would you only hack a portal once? And then finally one saying only keys, showing the speed glyph on there, because obviously you only get keys with that speed glyph. Anytime new items get added to TeePublic store, they are discounted for 2 days. So you can get them, for example, instead of £19, it's £13 for a shirt. Again, there's discounts on whatever you're getting on there for those 2 days because it's a brand new design. So I would ask that you do check it out from time to time. If there's a design that grabs you on there, or if you think there's something that is changing on design, do let me know. Finally, I'm trying to increase the visibility of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. So if you do listen on that service and you have a few moments spare, I would appreciate if you rate it and then leave me any feedback on there. That's it for this advert. I'll let you get back to your regular scheduled podcast now. After all of that lore dump, I thought I'd end on something a bit lighter. It's now been 1 year since Niantic Spatial became a thing, following the sale of Pokemon Go, Monster Hunter Now, Pikmin Bloom, and Wayfarer and Campfire to Scopely from Niantic Labs. There was the split in May 2025, which left the newly formed Niantic Spatial with Ingress and Peridot. As I've covered, Peridot Mobile is due to be retired later this year, but Peridot as a franchise on like Meta headsets and stuff still exists, and Ingress is still obviously plowing on with everything they're doing. Ingress is part of the immersive experiences part of Niantic Spatial, so it does fall under that, and I think it's the only thing really under that, along with Peridot. As it's been a year since the Niantic Spatial split, so hopefully split, however you want to say it, I did put a post up on the Reddit that I'll link to just to gather a bit of thoughts on there. I'll probably compile those into a bit of a longer episode and a bit more of a discussion point on there. But I just want to highlight it's now been a year since the Niantic Spatial have been in charge of Ingress. Obviously, it's the same team involved, but the Niantic Spatial may have different ideas about what they want to do versus Niantic Labs being a game company on there. So it'll be interesting to see how it's celebrated in game, if at all, and how they move forward with it on there. Maybe we'll get a little Niantic Spatial badge or Niantic Spatial campaign, but I haven't seen anything as yet. Obviously, we've got the Peridot campaign coming up on the 1st of June, and I assume Pride XM coming up on the same day on there as well. That's all from me really for this week, agents. Thanks for sticking with me through the giant lore explanation on there. Going through all the Courier files, hope you managed to complete the assignments yourself and get all the rewards from that. And then look forward to the upcoming ones we've got for the summer solstice, which I didn't cover, which I'll cover next time when that's coming up. That'll be starting on the 5th of June, so I'll cover it next time. Now I just missed it with all the bits to go through with all the lore, so we'll cover it in future. But as I said, that's all from me for this week, so hope you have a great Sunday and happy hacking, agents. Thank you, agents, for listening to the latest episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do that in a couple of ways. So the easiest way to support the podcast is via Patreon. So you can find at patreon.com/Ingress Insights. And there's a free tier, a $1 a month tier, whatever that is in your local currency, and a $5 a month tier. You can check out what benefits those come with on the Patreon. One other thing you can do that's totally free that helps out a lot is rating the podcast on your podcast service of choice. So where you can leave a rating or leave comments, that always helps increase visibility. And then finally, you can follow us on various social media channels. We use most of them, but the best one to follow us on now is Blue Sky. So that's just ingressinsights.bsky.social. Search for Ingress Insights on Blue Sky, you'll find us on there. Finally, sharing the podcast with friends, family, other agents who want to listen and get updates, so it helps out and helps get interviews with various Ingress people or other game related people to then increase visibility more. So anything you can do from those is great. Thanks again for listening, agents. Have a great day.
Intel package transferred.